Welcome to No Rules Review with your host, Ethan Malay.
Hey everybody, Ethan Malay here, and today I'm talking about Five Tribes by Bruno Cathala. Five Tribes is a game of 2 to 4 players in which you are trying to become the Grand Vizier of Nikala, something like that. You are using genies and elders and assassins and merchants and viziers and traders, and you're picking up meeples from a tile, and just like Mancala, you are putting them down one at a time as you move around, activating tiles to take part in whatever special ability they have. So, the game is played by you setting out a bunch of tiles in a random fashion, so each game is different. Then you place 3 meeples on each, and the game starts. On your turn, as I said, you pick up a handful of meeples from one tile, you place them down. You can't go back to the same tile. Can you? I don't know. You end up on a tile, and whatever you put the last meeple on, you activate that tile. You can't put a meeple down, though, where there are no meeples of the matching color, so that severely limits your options. So, if the last meeple in my hand is green, it has to go down on the tile with green meeples. I will activate that tile, and I'll activate whatever the special ability of green meeples is, which in the game is grabbing cards. What's neat about this game is there are many, many ways to score points. People don't tend to refer to it as such because it's not by a different designer, but it's really a point salad game. Almost everything you're doing gets you points. Picking up little yellow meeples gets you points, and if you have more of those than other people at the end of the game, you get 10 more points. Picking up green meeples lets you grab cards. As you create sets of cards, you get points. Picking up blue meeples gives you money. Money is points. Picking up red meeples lets you kill other meeples, which if you have the right genie gives you points. Picking up white meeples, elders, gives you points. When you have the expansion, picking up purple meeples gives you points. Everything you do gives you points. But what this means is that everybody can sort of forge their own path to victory in the game. So it's really neat. Maybe I'm going after sets of cards that will get me points, and you're going after money. We're also all trying to take control tiles on the board, which are worth varying points as well. Some of them are worth lots of points, and you will obviously make sure that nobody else can get them. Some of them are worth less points, but can be made to be worth more by landing on them repeatedly and repeatedly. So not only are you worried about the points you're getting off the board, you're worried about what's happening on the board constantly. The game works well 2, 3, 4 players. If you're playing 2-player, you actually take 2 actions a turn. 3 or 4 player, you take 1 action a turn. And the biggest issue, well, not issue, but the biggest constraint in this game is when you take an action, it might be awesome for you, but you want to make sure you're not setting up something even better for the person after you in turn order. In a 2-player game, what this means is basically you try to make it that you get 2 actions in a row, and your opponent gets 2 actions in a row. I mean, if you could try to make it work, you'd like to split your opponent, but they usually won't let that happen. So you take 1 action, even if it's a crummy action, set yourself up for an amazing action, and then your second action hopefully hasn't set up your opponent for something good themselves. Now, as you might imagine with that in mind, this means that this game can fall victim to a lot of thinking. There are people who will sit and think and think and think on their turn, and they'll say, okay, if I do this, it'll get me 8 points. If I do that, it gives me 9, but it lets you get 3, and when I got 8 points, you got 2, so which one's better for me? But if I do that, and then the third person gets 7 points, or they can get 10 points, so it can lead to a lot of analysis paralysis. I mean, the people who are prone to do that are going to be prone to do that in any game, no matter what. When I play, it tends to be pretty quickly played. Yeah, people don't want to set somebody up for a ton of points, but I don't tend to think all of the decision branches that I could to try to see how I can absolutely maximize my points. It's not that deep of a game. It's a fun, family-weight game. It's from Days of Wonder, the people who make Ticket to Ride and other games like that. I have the expansion, the Artisans of Nikala, which introduces purple meeples, which let you get these magical items that can give you points. We never go after those in the game. We go after the purple meeples because they're worth points, but it also introduces barriers. In the base game, when you pick up meeples and you move them, you can go in any of the 4 directions because you're moving orthogonally. The expansion, like the thing that I love most in the expansion, is that there's a chasm you can't go over. There are mountain ranges that act as walls, so it changes the geometry of the board, which leads to some really interesting games. In the base game, you tend to play until there are no legal moves left. Well, no, I'm sorry, you don't tend to make it to that point. You tend to play until somebody's placed down all their camels on the board, so claim the maximum number of tiles they can. The expansion, due to those constraints on how you can move meeples, if you're not careful, the game can end pretty quickly with no more legal moves left. And of course, the turn order decisions get very important as you get near the end of the game, and people realize there might only be one move left. Turn order is decided in a bidding at the beginning of every round, which I normally wouldn't be that big of a fan of, but it is a set increment bidding. So you don't get to pick the number. It's not going to be 5, 6, 7. You take your little token and you set it down on what you're bidding, and that's your bid. So you have to decide, especially if you're the first person, how much do I want to bid? And what you're bidding is money/points. So do I want to bid 15 points to go first? Well, I better make a lot of points, otherwise that wasn't worth it. Or am I willing to bid 0 points and go last and just see what the state of the board looks like when it gets to me? Now, in a 4-player game, this can be one of the criticisms people levy at the game, that if you are last, the state of the board can be so wildly different from when the round started that you might as well just sit back, busy yourself doing something else, and then when it's your turn, re-examine the board. So in that regard, it is tough to deal with. There is some amount of necessary analysis of the board because things can be completely different from when you started bidding to when you finally go. I will caution you, if you're playing this for the first time, when people want to try to plan out their moves, you need to have a system to remember what meeples have been set down on the tile. Because people pick up a handful of 7 meeples, and they just start dropping them on tiles, and they say, oh wait, no, I don't want to do that. Well, now it's really important that you remember what meeples were put down. So what we do is, all meeples that are on the tiles are standing, and as you place meeples, you're laying them down until you're sure that's your move, then you can stand them up. That way you don't have to worry about people potentially accidentally or intentionally changing the state of the game when they haven't even made a real move. It's a very nice looking game. The genies all have very unique art. Genies are another whole aspect of the game. They are worth points, but they also give you special abilities that can break the rules. We don't, and it could just be groupthink, we don't tend to buy too many genies unless it's a huge point surplus. You usually spend about 4 points worth of meeples to get a genie. So unless it's like an 8 or 10 point genie, I don't tend to buy them. Some of the abilities I'll jump on, but there's so many genies and you don't ever see all that many in the game. Now, there was some controversy when this game came out. The game came with some cards that you could get that were called slave cards, and it depicted a man standing with shackles on his hands and feet, and you could use those slaves to sort of boost some of your abilities. Instead of trading in 2 white meeples for a genie, you can trade in a white meeple and a slave card. Or when you use the blue meeples to get money, you can sort of augment them with slaves to get more and more and more money. Mechanically, it's a nice thing. The cards are great to use. Thematically, calling them slave cards probably wasn't the wisest decision. People's outcry, I mean, certainly everybody's entitled to their own opinion. They did fix this in the subsequent printings of the game. They came out with fakir cards instead of slave cards. I actually ended up getting those, and we use those now. The only issue being that since I have the original printing, all of the player aids and the tiles have little pictures of the slave card instead of the fakir card. So when I'm teaching new players, they say, well, what does that mean? I say, well, they're the same card. And I got to explain the whole controversy, which leads to a discussion of whether it was controversial, whether it was okay, whether it was insensitive. And I'm not going to get into that here, because certainly everybody's entitled to their opinion. It's a cardboard toy that we're playing with. People can get as upset or as not upset as they want over it, and that's all their opinion. I'm just talking about how the game plays, and it is a great 2 to 4 player game. It's certainly heavier than something like Ticket to Ride, so if you are new to hobby games and you're looking and you say, well, I like Ticket to Ride, and that's by the same company, this is a step above it. It's not too far above it, though. This could still be played by families, and everybody can enjoy it and know what they're doing. They have a wonderful score pad at the end, so you don't have to worry about keeping track of all the big numbers. You would want to explain to people how scoring works, how the cards work. The cards, there are many varieties of cards. You get points or coins based on the number of different cards you have in each set. So you can spend your whole game just collecting multiple sets of cards. Some of them are much rarer than others, so there is some issue there. You know, you're not guaranteed to get a ton of awesome cards. But overall, a great, I don't even know what I'd call it. I guess just point salad game with main column mechanic, which I think most people playing games like this have at least at some point in their life played Mancala or are familiar with how it works. So it's not a difficult thing to explain to people. If you've never tried it, I suggest giving it a try, and if it's your kind of game, give it a buy. I think it's a great family-style game. This has been Ethan Millay. If you liked what you saw today, share, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye now.
This has been another No Rules review by Ethan Millay. If you enjoyed this video, consider sharing, commenting, liking, and most importantly, subscribing. For this and other great games, join us over on BoardGameGeek.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.